Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. Back in 2021, when I started this podcast, it was all about healing the divide between business owners and SEOs. Now, I'm not so interested in that anymore. This is also not an interview show. So for now, it's going to be me and what I'm testing, and maybe every now and then throwing out maybe a little challenge out there to see if we can, as SEOs, see things in a different light. Welcome to Confessions of an SEO. Great to have you back in Season 5, Episode 3. I know I said that this week I was going to kind of break down and share some new things in Google's indexation system, but something rose up that I felt I needed to speak to first. So to those of you who had the pool going on how long into Season 5 would it take for me to get back on that helpful content train, well, if you picked Episode 3, congratulations. Yes, so today's main topic I'm going to talk about, put a little light on, is a helpful content discussion that I don't think you're going to find anywhere else. And it involves Google patents. You know, if you read something in a patent and at the same time you see something in search results that appears to give credence to something other than what you may have read in patents, how do you know which one is more accurate? And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to gush all over my latest adventure, Indexilla. Yes, that is my indexing platform, and it's a wonderful addition to my life, and it is just like a business. It's like a second business. So yeah, I know I'm doing a lot of projects, consulting and research, and Indexilla, and all of that, you know, requires not just a topical understanding, but I think from a health standpoint, you know, you really have to have increased ability in order to switch hats constantly without feeling, you know, depleted after you keep switching hats. And I'm going to gush over this product as well. Many of you have heard me talk about Magic Mind before. I use it every day. And what I have noticed since adding this to my own routine is that over time, I would say I've seen and experienced an increased mental resiliency. It's been balanced and steady, and I really get a lot done in a day without feeling like I was running all day. And when I first tried, I knew Magic Mind was helping, but now that it's established, I can, like I say, really tell the difference. And so I'm looking at a lot of data, trying to connect the dots every day. And well, to be honest, you know, some days the demands, usually time-based, are a little higher. And now that I've been on Magic Mind for a while, I can really feel the physical and mental difference at the end of the day. Now, if you're curious about Magic Mind, they have a performance shot. It comes in a super cute container. And while it's backed with scientific studies and formulated in a way that makes its ingredients absorbable, easier in the body, while all that is amazing and true, nothing matters more to me than my own experience using it. I use it every day, or I wouldn't talk about it here. If you'd like to try it, it's available in Sprouts, H-E-B, and Central Market. And if you want to get 45% off, you can use my link. It's magicmind.com/confessionsjan for January. Now, there you have my secret, how I get things done and yet feel I stay so cool and calm. Ha ha ha. Okay, so now let's go back to talking about Google patents. So, like most businesses, you know, with intellectual property are things that you can't put your hands around or take a picture of. So there's this patent process. Now, I learned about this. I mean, I've been in business for a while. I've heard about it, but I really learned about it with Indexilla. I've applied the applications to get registered for the name itself as well as the logo marks. And a cool story, I have a close friend who works in the business of filing patents. And when we got to the logo, I mean, she's nothing short of being a pro. We didn't just take a screenshot of the logo on the homepage of the site to show the logo was being used in business. We did shots of the shop page and shots of the cart. And when you kind of put them all together, it was like the telling of a story. And the logo is, it's probably not going to sound modest for me to say this, but it's killer. And as we were uploading all of that, part of the process, you also have to provide a word description of the image of your logo. And you need to do it in a lot of detail. And I kid you not, it ended with these words because she helped me with it. And this is about the word Zilla on the image. It says, the L's overlaid in red, giving the overall impression of two claw marks tearing a surface and drawing blood. Now, we kind of laughed, speculating about, whichever legal clerk that would be reading all of this in about 6 or 8 months and seeing everything that we had submitted. And of course, they'll have a copy of the image in its full color. And we were wondering, if they're going to laugh so hard when they read all this that they just sort of spew out whatever they're drinking, or maybe they might relay the story at lunch break, or maybe wait, be professional and do it with their family when they got home. So, I mean, it's the patent office. I don't expect they get that much in the way of finding things that are maybe so graphically visceral. Anyway, according to an article by George Mason University's Center for Intellectual Property and Innovation Policy, that's a mouthful, and they study the filing of these things, these patents. And the article was about patent transparency. And in reading this article, I learned something. I did not know that a business could file a patent and tell the patent office not to publish it to the public. Did you know that? I mean, whenever we're talking about Google patents, everyone makes the assumption that we have access to all of them. And it appears that there's one company that seems to request this do not publish option more than any of the other major patent players. Interesting fact. In the article, who at the time of this writing was in the top recipients of the patents, Google has formally requested 80% of the time that its applications not be published. 80%. And they're one of the top recipients of patents. I mean, we're talking about, the top 10 include IBM, Samsung, Canon, Sony, Microsoft. So how does all this relate to SEO, you say? Well, what's interesting is one of the earliest SEOs, Bruce Clay, kind of made his mark by learning how Google was doing what it was doing to rank and sort everything it had access to, and just began to be known for interpreting these Google patents so that people had maybe more accessibility into what Google was doing. And just to make sure and certain that I actually had that right, I did a quick search for his name and the words Google patents. And at the top was an article about Google being granted a patent for the ability to identify similar pages on a site. I will put this link in the description. And quoting from it, it says, the patent describes a system where a similarity engine can identify duplicate content by spidering a site and generating a sketch of that page. The sketches will be weighted and can be compared for similarities. If a page is deemed too similar, Google can opt not to index it. Longtime listeners understand that when someone says duplicate content to me, I have to ask, well, do you mean actual duplicate content on the same domain, or are you talking about syndicated content, which is the same content on other people's domains? So I guess through this little thing, you can see how I'm going to turn this into a masterful pivot of combining indexation and helpful content. So now that brings me to the main topic this week. When you read something in a patent, but you see something in the search results behavior that indicates something else, how does one reconcile these two things that are true at both times? Even the Supreme Court has two ways of interpreting the Constitution. Originalists who argue that the meaning of the constitutional text is ever fixed, no room for interpretation. And living constitutionalists argue that constitutional law can and should evolve in response to changing circumstances and community values. So when it comes to patents, these patents are certainly very persuasive. If whatever it's saying, it's in there, it's in black and white. Google could do whatever is spelled out in that document from a technological position. It's a formal way of stating we could do this, and this is how we could do it, but is it absolute proof that they are doing it? Does it mean that Google is actually instigating what they say they can do? Is the claiming and the doing equivalent to each other? Is it possible to claim to have the ability to do something, to be able to do it and show you how they would do it, but not do it? Now that I know that Google not only can, but does request that patents not be published, which means they're not available to the public, it does signal a possibility that there are things in the patent office filed away somewhere. And maybe, kind of like the movie National Treasure, we might be able to manage to get access and read something that is not in the public, right? And learn more. Now, what I'm just talking about and why this came up is there was a discussion last week with a colleague in which the topic of helpful content came up. And yes, we were on different sides of the divide. He felt that helpful content was more like Panda, that helpful content was about content being helpful for readers, and Google was using visitor interactions to determine which content was more helpful than others. Now, our conversation was civil. It was reasoned. He's a voracious patent reader. He's on a quest. I totally respect him both as a tester and an SEO. And at the same time, he wasn't saying that helpful content didn't have a topical aspect to it. And yet, while I can respect a position guided by the patents, I cannot for myself take one that doesn't also include the actual SERP behavior. Now, in hindsight, I think it was a case of right place, right time to be able to observe a standalone helpful content updates before they got merged into the core algorithm this year, or I should say last year. In the indexation testing, I noticed a shift in the indexation rate in my testing sites before and after centering the testing sites around a very large umbrella topic with subtopics. I want to make sure I say that clearly. I noticed a shift in the indexing rates of my test sites when I went from every page being a different topic one day, and then the next day another topic, and the next day another topic. When I went from that to now I only have topics that involve sports shoes. Okay? So that's what I mean by theming. So these test sites, they had zero, none, nada, visitor signals. So if helpful content is indeed based on visitor signals, then I would surmise that the table of contents issue, instead of causing a duplicate content issue, that because those links got clicked, those pages, if helpful content does evolve around visitor engagement, that the visitors that would have clicked on those anchor links to drop down to the section of the page, those would have helped that site, not hurt that site. Now, the beauty of test sites is that you really don't have a lot of other signals interfering with the tests you're running. Indexing changed December 5th, 2022, the second running of the helpful content update. After that, the only way to get my test content to go fully through the indexation system was to theme the site. Now, I'm not talking about WordPress themes, which is how the site looks, but the topical theming of the sites. When that was in place, it caused the indexation rates to jump in a way that was, to say the least, statistically significant. And all the while without traffic. No user-generated signals, either in a positive or a negative way, which, of course, is described in the patents that you can have positive engagement and negative engagement. Now, helpful content rules clearly were impacting indexation rates, and until there was a topical theme, not in a good way. The only variable that had changed was the topical theming of the content. The content generation, everything all stayed the same. Now, am I saying that user signals don't help sites? Absolutely, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that these two things are not combined. I will let you in on a little secret. I'm working to prepare a case study on a site recovery. And I mean, this site is devastated. This could be a complete fool's errand. But what makes this unique is that there's zero economic pressure on this thing. Most of the time, on LinkedIn, we're told about this site has regained and recovered from the helpful content hit. We just did these 100 things and wow, it recovered. As trained SEOs, we too understand that when you throw everything you have up against a wall, statistically, one of those things is likely to help. But what you can't point to when you do that is whether a factor is efficient or a waste of your time. So when you have something that's doing well, but you've done 100 things to it, it kind of really doesn't help our body of knowledge to grow, to get our handle around this thing. I mean, yay for the business that is doing better. But when I read the list, and somewhere in the middle, almost like it was an afterthought, there was a bullet point that I believe said something to the effect of remove content that was redundant before listing 40 more things. Well, it's kind of like somebody who says, wow, I feel so much better. I'm taking my vitamins, I'm walking the stairs, I'm drinking more water, I'm sleeping better, I stopped smoking, I'm no longer tired in the afternoons. Well, you stopped smoking? That's huge. Likewise, you remove redundant content? That's huge. And it's huge when you understand that helpful content is a topically based system and that the definition of duplicate content has been expanded to mean multiple pages answering the same query. It kind of makes sense. Now, I say know the patents, right? But don't assume that you've seen everything. Thanks to that little box on the patent filing form that, when checked, means the patent office won't make it public. I think we must look to the reality within the SERPS, which will reveal everything that is in play. Well, that's it for me and Sunny this week. Check out Magic Mind and use my link to save 45%, magicmind.com/confessionsjan. Check out Indexilla to get your content and backlinks indexed. It's so much within Google's terms of service. It's safe for every type of link, even your money site. If you need help with your site and you're not sure where to dig, contact my office. My specialty is forensic SEO. Does this mean I will find a silver bullet and bring you something you never thought of? Maybe. But if you're stuck and you just want to double check your bases with fresh eyes, by all means, reach out. To stay on the cutting edge of indexing, check out Crawl or No Crawl on Substack. You can find it by searching for it in Google, Crawl or No Crawl. It's even got its own knowledge graph. Thank you for being a listener. I hope I can count on you coming back next week for more SEO conversations, observations, and testing stories. If you have any questions about today's topic, I'd love to hear from you. You can text confessions at 512-222-3132. Thanks again, and until next week, I'll see you in the SERPS.